Good morning and welcome back to my 12 Days of Christmas series. Today I'm going to take you with me as we decorate my Christmas tree. But before we do that, can you please do me a favor? Could you give this video a thumbs up? Could you hit the subscribe button? And if you could answer today's question of the day, that would be wonderful. And without further ado, let's get into decorating the Christmas tree. Hey, quick interruption. I wanted to let you know that if you live in Woodstock, Ontario and the surrounding areas and you're looking to buy or sell your home, that I'm currently working on my real estate license, and pay attention in the new year. Alright, so let's talk about decorating the Christmas tree. I did it over the course of a couple of days, and the first step is always to clean your space. Make sure you've got a really clean, fresh start to go ahead and get started with the project. Trust me, you're gonna make a lot of mess while you're putting up this fake tree, so it's good to have a clean space. Now, I don't know if you've seen these around before. You probably have. I found it at the dollar store, so I imagine they're probably quite literally everywhere. Is anyone else super disappointed to see Dollarama prices going up? But it's essentially just like this little switch. So at Christmas time, when you get your tree all nice and decorated, you're just gonna hit that little button and the lights come on. I basically took all this fake snow that I had from previous years and shoved it in a pile around the tree. And then I just threw a dollar store tree skirt on top, so it kind of gives the illusion of snow, like little snow hills underneath my tree. Definitely a cheap solution. But I think you can find some relatively inexpensive tree skirts elsewhere that after purchasing this one, I found some for 20 bucks that were super pretty. So I think next year that's what I'm gonna do, but this sufficed for this year. So I'm really proud of how I decorated my Christmas tree this year. I started out with this super cheap Walmart tree, and pretty much what I did is I worked stage by stage for building the tree. In past years, I had done putting up the entire tree all at once, and then I shoved a bunch of garland in after that point to try to like fill it up. But this time around, I decided to do a layer and then put the garland in and then do another layer, and so on and so forth. I mean, just look at how barren this tree is. It's unfortunate. But that's where some people spend thousands of dollars on a really beautiful, high quality tree that's actually full and looks realistic. But if you don't have that kind of money, I mean, this video is for you. This is how I made my tree look, in my personal opinion, kind of glamorous, without spending a lot of money. So before even putting any garland in and really trying to fill out the tree, you do want to make sure that you fluff each of your branches. Fluffing alone will not give you the look if your tree is a cheap one. So that's where it's really important to shove a bunch of garland in there, as well as other ornaments and things that I'm going to get to later on in the video. So you really just have to pull all the branches apart to get it looking nice and full with the garland as you begin to shove it in the tree, because you're treating it kind of like the Christmas tree branches. You want it to look like it's coming out of the tree, like it's growing from within, to the best of your ability. It's not going to look perfect, but that's what the ornaments are going to be there for, to just really fill in all of those obvious spots. So you see I'm just shoving it into different places within the tree to really just make it look more full and attractive. To be honest, I'm not sure there's a whole lot to say about building the tree. It's essentially just put the piece down, fluff out the branches, I bought my garland from the dollar store, so I just fluffed out all that garland that I had. Oh my goodness, let me tell you the process I had to go through with that garland. It was a total nightmare, honestly. So I didn't have the proper cutters for this garland, because it's a pretty thick metal piece in there. So what I did is I had this massive piece of garland that I took and I just folded like 500 times until it finally snapped apart. And it would get hot. Like if I touched it right after, like you could feel how hot it was from the friction of moving it back and forth 100 times. But I got the job done, and now I have all these little pieces that I can just shove right in. You can put it in more like a tree branch, but then when there's a bigger, more barren area, it was nice to have, and honestly it was easier because I didn't have the clippers, and to have the longer piece that you just kind of shove in and wrap around the general area. Oh right, so my Christmas lights, they weren't working. That was really frustrating. I finally built this whole tree and I plug it in and I get the light set up and I've got that solid color at the top and I've got the multicolor at the bottom. And I'm not a fan of the multicolor. I think it looks, in my personal opinion, tacky. I know other people use it and they love it, but it's just not my style. I love that more golden light. Gold is my favorite color, so having that warm light in my tree is really what I go for, especially having the theme of gold, white, and pink. So when it didn't match, I was kind of mortified. It's like, what am I gonna do? Do I seriously have to disassemble this entire tree to figure it out? Luckily, that wasn't the case. All I had to do was unplug it, turn it 180, and plug it back in. And that fixed the problem. It was just in the wrong little connection port. Ooh, this part was so much fun. So I'd never used poly mesh before, right? And it's this massive sheet that likes to kind of curl up within itself. And it was beautiful and shiny and pink, and I was just super excited to use it. So what I essentially did is I started at the top and I wanted to have the illusion of wrapping around the tree. So I did cut it off in pieces and kind of wrap and wrap and wrap to give that illusion without having to physically bring it around the tree all that many times. But if you want to talk about filling a tree, this was a lifesaver because it could really add dimension on the inside. So what I did after the fact, when I wasn't recording, is I did shove some extra pieces right in there in the base. When you were stepping away and you looked, if I could see the wall somewhere, I just shoved a bunch of poly mesh in there because it kind of hid the fact that there was this bareness, which was really the illusion that I was trying to create by having it wrap around in more barren places. And I think it worked out pretty well. It gives you that ribbon sort of feel, but it's thicker and it's more luxurious. Next up, I added a bunch of picks. So I kind of treated them as tree branches. I had them all spread out like I did with the tree branches where you fluff them. And I kind of played around with it a bit so it would spill out to more of the tree instead of just being one teeny tiny little cluster. I wanted it to spread out more. I had my white picks, my gold berries, and I had those pink sparkly ones. And I really just put them in different places relatively evenly all throughout. And that's the advantage of working in steps, is you can make sure that each step works cohesively with each other before moving on to the next one. All of these picks I got from the dollar store too. Like I'd say 90% of this tree came from the dollar store. You can really find pretty things on a budget, I'm telling you guys. Buying fake plants every single time I go to Dollarama. And I love the way it looks. Even in the springtime, I had kind of like a privacy blocker set up on my balcony. And I'd done that with fake flowers from the Dollarama. It's not about where you get it, it's about how you use it. I'd never used beads before in my tree, but I bought a bunch of the dollar store, once again, bead strips, and I wrapped my tree with them. And it really added a cute dimension to it, a little bit extra something. And I really had to go with that maximalist feel for this tree because it is so empty and I knew everything was gonna settle as time goes on. So by having more stuff shoved in the middle and just adding all that depth and dimension, it really helped everything to flow. I wasn't expecting to like it so much, but I was happily surprised with the way it looked. As for the ribbon, I was still trying to go for that very wrap around the tree look, but I wanted to use a fraction of the ribbon. So essentially what I did is I cut it into a bunch of pieces like this big, and I would wrap it into the tree. And I'd grab the next piece and I would kind of visualize, okay, so if this is going down like this, then I want the next one to go like this. So it's kind of the illusion of it all being one strand, as though in the depth of the tree, you're not seeing the ribbon. So I really just streamed it all the way up and throughout the tree, kind of like I did with the poly mesh, just with smaller pieces. And isn't it crazy how beautiful it looks already without having any ornaments on the tree at all? Like it's just filled. I was so pleasantly surprised with the way it turned out. So much so, I even got a bunch of B-roll footage of that. Isn't it just so pretty? I caught it on a gorgeous morning as well, where the lights were just, the sunlight was hitting the trees so perfectly, and it had my heart. I literally went into work the next day and was showing it to everybody. And my tree wasn't even finished, and I was telling everyone about it. But don't worry, the very first chance I I continued working on it. So the next step was taking those really large baubles that I had purchased from, once again, the dollar store, and looking for places on the tree that looked, once again, barren. So I really just tried to fill in all of the holes I could find with the large ones. So it really just completed everything. I only had large gold ones because that's all I could find there. Turns out pink and white is a little bit harder to find at a dollar store. That might be a little bit more of a specialty item where I might have to go elsewhere to find larger ones. But that was fine. It did its job. I filled in all of the gold ones where it looked really empty. And then I came out with the smaller gold ornaments and I just started placing it in what looked even. And I tried to spread everything out enough so it would dangle on the branch and it wouldn't be sitting on a branch as much as possible. And where I didn't have two of the same ornaments too close to each other. And in this stage, you're really just moving things around, tweaking everything as you go. You continuously take a step back, look at it, and you think, I don't like the way that this is dangling here. Maybe this is too close to this, or maybe the way that this is sitting needs to be adjusted. And so you really just go in and you refine everything. If you're curious as to what I'm drinking, it's this delicious eggnog recipe. There's some vodka and amaretto in there. Check out the recipe video. But it's so good. So the next step was filling it with all of the white ornaments. And I had a lot of really pretty ones that I'd found at the Dollarama, as well as like giant tiger and just places that are near me. So once again, just spreading it out, trying to fill in places that look empty and trying to make everything look cohesive and even. I found that at this stage, the white kind of stood out a little bit like a sore thumb, but the more ornaments that I put on the tree, the more it all started to feel a bit more cohesive. And that was pretty exciting to see it all come together and work out kind of like how I had envisioned it. You know, see my vision come to life. Isn't that starting to look so pretty? And you want to make sure you're still shoving them deep into the tree because you want it to have that depth, especially when you're going for that more maximalist style, which is very important with a tree that has very few branches. Then I came in with all of my beautiful rose gold ornaments. And I just tried to, once again, evenly place everything on the tree, making sure nothing was too close to each other. And if it was, that they weren't too similar, but keeping in mind that I needed it to be that more maximalist style. So next I used those little icicles. These ones are acrylic and I found them on Amazon, and I would just dangle them all over the outside of the tree. Icicles look really, really pretty on the outside of the branches of the tree. So after I put a whole bunch of those all over the tree, it was starting to look complete. But there's still something very, very, very important that's missing. And I'm sure you're well aware of what that step is. So what I decided to do was grab a bunch of ribbon and start making a bow. I don't actually know how to make a bow. I was watching Robeson Designs. I think she changed her, like she did a rebranding with her daughter, so they're now Kin Woven. But they have so many incredible Christmas videos that really gives me a lot of inspiration and where I learned a lot of what I know. So I made a bow while watching her video to really help me remember how to do these steps. And I set it up on the tree right underneath the star, so it gives it that dimension, because I did get my star from the Dollarama. So it had like this twisty thing that was super visible, and I didn't want it to look visible I didn't think it was a very cute look, so I wanted to have that bow there to really hide and distract from all of that. And it really just made everything look more cohesive because I was using the same material. I even added some gold ribbon in there that I ended up using in other locations of my apartment, which you'll see in other videos during my 12 Days of Christmas series. So tell me what you thought of this video. Give it a big thumbs up. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you tomorrow. I've put so much work into this entire series, and I'm so excited for you to see everything and how it turned out. So thank you for sticking through to the end, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye!